everybody. Today we are going to do lesson 5, which is relating decimals and percents. You may have already made this connection yesterday when we were using the decimal grid, but percents and decimals are practically the same because when we write a percent, we discussed yesterday that we are comparing the number out of 100, right? So when we write a fraction out of 100, we just say it as, let's say if it was 5 out of 100, we would say 5/100ths, right? Well, as a percent, that would be 5%. So what we actually are doing here is we're actually naming a decimal without even realizing it. So let's unlock the problem. Decimals and percents are two ways of expressing the same number, just like I just said. You can write a percent as a decimal, and you can write a decimal as a percent. So in percents, the whole is 100, right? So what is the whole in a decimal form? In decimal form, a whole is 1, right? Or 1.0. You can even have the 2 zeros. It depends on how we're discussing this, right? So let's see how we do this. So for example 1, we want to model 42/100ths. And so we're writing it as a percent as well. So on a decimal grid, this is all out of 100. So 42/100ths is going to be shown the same exact way as a percent because it's out of 100. So to show that, we do 4 rows of 10, that's 40, and then 2 little boxes for 42. So that's 42/100ths, which is exactly the same as 42 out of 100, right? We know that we write 42/100ths as a fraction by putting it out of 100, which in itself is exactly what a percent is. So 42 out of 100 is 42%. So these three things are all equal. Cool, right? So 42/100ths is the same as 42%. So I'll just tell you a little secret. When your teachers, well, some of your teachers calculate your grades, and I say some because I like to do it by hand, but most of the time you can do this all using PowerSchool, but you actually use the decimal version of your percent to find your grades instead of like this. Okay. Example number 2, we're going to model 19% and then we're going to write it as a decimal. So in this case, we're going the other way. Here we went from decimal to percent. Now we're going to go from percent to decimal. So here's how we do it. 19%, we know that all percents are out of 100. So I'm going to put my 19 out of 100, right? And then I know that if it's 19/100ths as a decimal, it would be written like this, 0.19, okay? So to show it here, we're going to shade one column of 10 and then 9 to show 19. So everything except for the top one there. Okay, there's my 19/100ths and 19%. 19 out of 100, they all mean the same thing. So as a decimal, that's written 19/100ths or 0.19. Okay, voila. I like this little mathematical practice thing. I don't usually do these, but I like this one. Suppose a store is having a 50% off sale. What does that mean? That means everything is half of the price. Half the normal price, right? If you ever see a 50% off sale, you better go there. Okay? All right, so let's do our share and show together. We're going to use this model and complete each statement. So 68/100ths, that means 68 out of 100, right? So we can see how many squares are shaded. So we have columns of 10, so that's 60, and then 8. So we have 68 squares that are shaded. So that means it's 68%. I mean, could this get any easier, guys? So let's write these percents as decimals. 47% is 47 out of 100, which is 47/100ths, right? So that's 47/100ths, just like that. Okay. And then 11% is 11 out of 100, which is 11 hundredths. So that's 0.11. Okay, 11 hundredths. Nice and easy. Okay, so there is one thing that I do want to make sure that we are careful about. Super fast. Let's look at, before I like you guys to do the on your own. But we're going to do a few of these together. First, we are going to look at, what was the one? Oh, yes, these two. 8 and 9. And then I'll have you try 10 and 11 yourself. And then also, what was the other one? This one. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So the reason why I want to do this is because it's a super common mistake. When you are writing something out of 100, the temptation here, you have 7/10, right? So as a hundredth, you would need to have another 0 there. Okay? So this is not 7 out of 100, okay? This is a common mistake. This is 7 out of 100. This is 7 hundredths. In order for it to be 7 hundredths, the 7 has to be in the hundredth spot. Here, the 7 is in the 10th spot. This is 70 hundredths. So you have to be super careful about that. It's probably the most common mistake that's made in this topic. So careful, because I see it happening here again. If you need to add a 0 afterwards, then please do that, okay? Because it's super, super easy to make that mistake. So this one, 7, is actually in the hundredth spot. So this is 7 out of 100, which is 7%. Okay? In order for you to have a single-digit percent, okay, please listen carefully. In order for you to have a single-digit percent, there must be a 0 in front of the number. Okay? So that's a helpful hint. So if there is not a 0 in front of the number after that decimal, it's not going to be single digit. It's going to be double. Okay? So here, for example, I have a 0 in front of that 6. So that will be a single digit. However, here, there is no 0 in front of the 6 after that decimal. So that's really 60 out of 100. So please, please, please be careful. Okay? This one, they already added the 0 for us. How nice. Okay, so these are nice and easy. The only other thing here was the 4%. I just wanted to show you 4%. Okay, that's 4 out of 100. And this I'm showing because I wanted to show you how it goes backwards. Okay, so as a decimal, when you write that, it's not 0.4. It's 4 hundredths. The 4 must be in the hundredth spot, not the 10th spot. So be super careful. Okay, so these will take you like 5 seconds. So pause it, try the remainder, and then unpause to check your answers. Okay, guys. So one thing that I want to point out is that every time you do this, the most helpful thing that you could possibly do for yourself is to write, whether it's a decimal or a percent first, to write it out of 100, because it will most of the time eliminate any possible mistakes that you could make. So for number 4, it's 20 hundredths, so that's 20%. Number 5, 39 hundredths, I write it out of 100, 39%. 44 hundredths, that's 44%. 93 hundredths is 93%. Excuse me, we discussed this. This is 7 hundredths. So if you take the second to write it over 100, you'll see that that's only 7% instead of 70. And then the same thing here. This is really 7/10, so you add that 0, it's 70 hundredths, and you'll be able to see that that's 70% instead of 7%. 6 hundredths, so that's 6%. 60 hundredths, because this is in the 10th spot, so that's 60%. Now going backwards, going from percents to decimals, I did the same thing. I put them out of 100 to help myself. So 12% means 12 out of 100, so that's 12 hundredths written like that. 31% is 31 out of 100, so that's 0.31. 99% is 99 out of 100, so that's 99 hundredths. 13% is 13 out of 100, 13 hundredths. We did this one already, but 4% is 4 out of 100, so that's 4 hundredths. So it should be in the hundredth spot. There should be a 0 before the 4. 14% is 14 out of 100, 14 hundredths. 90%, 90 out of 100, which is 90 hundredths, or you could also write that equivalently as 9/10. And then finally, 9%. Remember, you write it 9 out of 100, so that's 9 hundredths. So you should have a 0 before that 9. Okay, this is the most important thing. These two examples here, and this one and that one. Okay, so be super careful. Don't rush. Make sure you take your time. It's going to be a common mistake, so make sure you check yourself for it. Okay. All right, guys. Have fun, fun, fun.